educators who have specifically dedicated their PhDs to the successes of using formative and summative assessments. So more than anything, why do we do formative assessments? Why do we do summative assessments? So formative, I know, and we've talked about this before, I've even experienced this, when we were talking about exit tickets, when we were talking about bell ringers, okay, it's very challenging. Okay, it's very challenging to try to integrate this and to figure out how we can incorporate it and make it actually useful. From my experience, I've already this year, I've tried to integrate it as much and it's actually saved me time. As an example, since now I'm teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, my 8th graders, since I had them last year, when it came to assessing them about scientific method and lab safety, I actually created a little pre-test on Summative, which I'll show you guys in a second how to even set up that website, and it'll actually work for elementary as well. All the students scored above an 85%. So for me, it was like, okay, why am I gonna take 2 or 3 days to review this information when for the most part, the general population on each question scored above an 85. And again, that website actually gave me the ability to, it was anonymous, so I was actually able to see the percentage of each question, and even in my low group, they still scored above an 85. So again, since time is of the essence, why am I gonna spend 2 days reteaching that? So that's one benefit when it comes to formative, and I know that we're all aware of that, and probably, again, I'm just speaking from my experience, probably the only downfall is just trying to figure out how to get it into our schedules. But again, from experience, I'm telling you as an example, that saved me just those 2 days. So I know it took me maybe half an hour to set up that little Summative quiz, but that saved me 2 days of planning that I can move forward and teach something, okay? When it comes to summative assessments, okay? The same thing, we already know that that's the traditional exam that we try to make sure that they understand whatever benchmark, whatever it is that we're actually assessing, okay? But I've noticed, and again, from my experience, if you try to give assessments at different levels of different learning styles, whether it be auditory, whether it be kinesthetic, whether it be written, students, you can see where their like strong points are, and you try to assess them that way. Like I know what I try to do, especially every quarter, and I know that we try to do this in middle school, that we do either quarterly exams or we do quarterly projects. I've had experience that I'll offer either the exam or the project. And again, I know you're probably looking at me like, well, every kid in middle school is gonna pick a project. Not necessarily. I actually have students that they rather take the test because they don't have those kinesthetic skills. They prefer having the written exam in front of them. And then when it comes to projects, and I'm gonna touch bases on that in a second, I actually have them complete the project in class. Because again, like I'm sure most of us are aware, when it comes to projects at home, unfortunately, sometimes it's not the student doing it. So when it comes to summative, we always try to reach all those different learning styles so that our students can reach the best of their ability. I have an example here, and I'll actually email you guys this picture because I was researching this and it came up and it made all the sense in the world. That if we compared our children to flowers, and it kind of works out with our theme for the year of growing in Christ, or from last year, but if we look at summative assessments, okay, and we were comparing that to plants, that would be the actual growth of the flower, whatever plant it is that we're looking at, actually growing. Okay, when we think about formative, that would actually be watering the plant. That would be putting them by the sun, maybe taking them away from the sun. If we're artistic, we play music for them, whatever it may be. So again, the point that I'm getting at is that when it comes to formative assessment, those are all the tools that we're using to help them grow to be successful students in the future. Summative is seeing, okay, from the products that I've been doing to help them grow, are they actually growing? Is that actually working? And I thought it was cute. I think that's something positive to even share with our kids as well. So formative assessments, different types, okay? Homework, again, we're not grading that anymore, and I think that's a great opportunity for students to practice at home, and it also gives us a tool to figure out, okay, are they getting this concept? If the whole class got them all correct, okay, we can kind of move forward. We don't have to touch upon that. But again, if we see that the majority of the classes didn't do all that great, maybe we need to touch upon that topic again. Reflections, again, you kind of get a feel that if they're just kind of like saying, yeah, the assignment was nice, or this topic was great, okay, you know you kind of need to like touch upon it again because they're not giving you juicy stuff. They're not giving you a meaty response. Rubrics, okay, this is something I actually learned recently. The example that I was giving earlier about doing projects in class, okay, a rubric can actually be considered a type of a formative assessment. Why? Because rubrics, again, they're broken down into sections. all right? And we're not actually grading on that individual section, we're grading it as a whole. So the rubric as a whole acts as a summative assessment, but each part is formative. Okay, so again, the typical science fair project, if you're checking their hypothesis, if their hypothesis is correct, just that portion, that's kind of like, okay, we understood that they got that topic. But the overall science fair project is what we're assessing, so that can be considered both, so it's kind of a 2-for-1 deal. And I'm going to show you guys a website that's actually great for rubrics, that they have stuff already done for you, so we don't even have to recreate the wheel. Bell work, again, these are 2 or 3 questions that you give them at the beginning of the class. It kind of gives you an opportunity to settle down, okay, make sure you have all your things ready for the day, and it could be based on information from the day before. And again, this can apply to any grade, to any subject, okay, and again, you don't have to collect it. Like what I do on the middle school level is that they have 1-page in Notability, that they write their questions and they answer it, and that actually acts as a study guide as well. So they can go back and forth and they can use that information, and you can even use those questions for summative assessments. So again, it helps feed each other. Middle school, again, because that's obviously where we're at, but on the elementary level, anytime I ever mention anything about apps, I want the elementary teachers to always feel free that if they need to use any of our iPads, the student iPads, if there's a day that they're not using that iPad, please ask us. Okay, we'll be more than happy to lend you 5 or 6 at a time of the students, and they can even use that, and your students can take quizzes on that, and I can show you guys how to set that up. And those are, again, quick little things that you guys can grab and make sure that everyone's on the same track. On Shobi, there's a class discussion feature. I've also been posting their bell works there, okay? And sometimes what I do is I'll mirror it on the Apple TV, and it's pretty much live. So again, Michelle puts a response about planets, okay? I ask how many planets there are, she tells me, and I see it right there, and it's a quick little check. And again, I just peek at it, and we're done. That takes 2 or 3 minutes. And again, that's something with the elementary that we can even set up a class for you. You guys have a couple iPads that day, and you could do that with the kids, and I'm sure they'll be over the moon over that. No pun intended. Summative. Summative, this is a quiz builder, okay? What I like about it is that you create it, and it saves it. So again, you have a formative assessment that you create, you have it there for next year. It's already done, you don't have to recreate it, okay? Or if I'm teaching something, although it might be at a middle school level, and maybe it can apply to something in 5th grade, maybe you could even use that. You can tweak that, we can share each other's logins, and you can use that as a formative assessment. And maybe even during computer time that I think you guys are going twice a week now, correct? Okay, you can use that opportunity maybe to do a quick quiz. And those are internet skills, those are typing skills, those match all those standards. And then the last one, that quiz, that I actually got that from Miss Clay, because again, that one's super neat too. There's a lot of questions that are already set up there for you, and it gives you the grade instantaneously. So it's a quick little tool that you can use for formative assessments and summative, depending what we're talking about. Summative assessment, so again, I mentioned earlier with the rubrics, okay? If we were using it as a formative assessment, each little row or column, depending how you set it up, that could be considered formative. But again, when we're talking about the rubric, it's the rubric overall that would be considered summative. Rubrics, I prefer them. I know that they're time consuming, but again, once you do it, you don't have to do it again. You have that template there. And it kind of covers your behind. Because again, if any student ever has any question, a parent has a question, the information was there. Anytime we ever assign a project, I usually present it the first day of class, or the first, upon discussion, review with the kids, take any questions, and email it to the parents as well, so that everyone is on the same page. Papers, okay, this one I'm kind of hesitant about, because me personally, it's hard to grade papers, okay? At the middle school level, we have 130 kids plus. That's sometimes hard to do, but again, at least you're getting an original product from the student, and you know where they're coming from. You know that it's completely original. Standardized tests, we do this with Iowa. These are the typical end of chapter, end of unit exams that we give. And in-class tests, the same concept. That all kind of encompasses that. Okay, time savers, because again, I know time is of the essence. Teachers Pay Teachers is probably one of my favorite websites. It was funny enough, I got an email from a homeroom parent asking what place I would prefer gift certificates to. I think I'm actually gonna write that website, because I'm sure you've all experienced that there's fabulous products on that website. Okay, and again, usually like if we see the preview, sometimes we can kind of get some ideas and make our own thing.
Yeah.
But there are some things that you have to pay for it, and that's fine. Again, $2 or $3 sometimes is a lifesaver because you find great products there, okay? The other thing I'd like for us to encourage is that if we find something neat, to share that with each other. Okay, if we find something, an assignment, a cool project that we see as cross-curricular, if we see a rubric that maybe that could help someone, that's a great resource for us to all share. Thatquiz.org, again, I talked about that again. They have quizzes that are already done, math, science, English, reading, every subject, and you can also create your own. McGraw-Hill, I kind of touched more into this app. Again, I know this is available for, I think actually elementary has it too, with Wonders, right?
Yes, they do.
Okay, I don't know if you guys have had a chance to mess with it yet, but there's a lot of great resources. As far as, there's test builders, there's worksheets already done. And again, we can share that with each other so that we save time, and again, we don't have to recreate the wheel. And the last one, each other. We're each other's probably greatest resources, okay? Obviously, yes, we have great lesson plans, but even just experiences with each other, okay? Sharing that, you know, the science fair project, did it work well for you? What helped you? I remember talking about that with Ellie that last year because she did that a couple of years ago. And we kind of picked each other's brains from that, and we got ideas so that we can improve it, so that we're not failing the first time we do it. We can email each other, and again, I know that time is of the essence, but if you see something on the weekend, you know, we're all on Pinterest, we all see great ideas, and if we see something cool for, you know, for religion, okay, text Deacon or send Deacon an email, and we have to remind him on Monday that we did. We have to remind him, be like, hey, come on.
That's up to Bianca to open my.
Perfect. Okay, but regardless, we can help each other out that way. Pinterest, again, great ideas there because again, there's no need to recreate the wheel. But if there's things that we have, okay, we just have to communicate with each other and help each other out so that we're not drowning. Because there's so many things out now, especially with the internet, with all these cool apps that it can help all of us. Like I know Gloria mentioned that she was using this app that like made like the 3D cell thing on a 4th grade level. I'm sure they were like over the moon over that. Like I'm sure they thought that was super neat. And it brought it out, it popped it up, and that was a great summative assessment, formative assessment, however she used it. So, thank you.
Thank you.